So basically, I've been on the journey to try to create a new vehicle. The first active step I took towards it was in 1991 when I was in the Navy, and I wrote up a plan and printed it out on the ship's printer and called Ratan Tata and went to see him. And I saw the sheer pollution and the complexity and the size of internal combustion where, as compared to electrics, which is a 100-year-old technology. You know, the first electric vehicles came out in the early 1900s. And it's a known story that it was suppressed by the vehicle makers who wanted IC engines to be a part of the mainstream and not electric vehicles. In 1995, I pitched the evolved version of that idea to BHEL when I was here in Bangalore. That went nowhere because, you know, I'm sorry to all BHELers, but we all understand the sheer bureaucracy and the slowness of these Navratna companies. I've met people with 10,000 crore companies who don't dare to take on this thing of building electric vehicles because there's no support from the government and there's no support from the people, most importantly and most frustratingly. And my Aadivaahan crowd fund was a huge example of this. We had a 51 lakh target. We raised 1 lakh rupees, of which 80,000 came from the West. If you study the history of innovators, and there's a very interesting term that Nassim Taleb, who's a very prescient and insightful author on the global financial system, that he coined this term anti-fragile. Anti-fragile things survive. So the innovator is always up against resistance. And whether you are born anti-fragile or you become anti-fragile, as you continuously face, you come up against resistance to, you know, and I found this resistance wherever I worked, which is part of the reason I quit working initially in the US. I came back to India in 2008 with a head full of ideas. I'd worked with John Lazarek already, the person that I launched the Aadivaahan record-breaking attempt with. I saw what evolved design could do. And I think pressure builds. Like everything is created in a womb. Right? A womb represents limits. You have to have limits. And I think the innovators' limits are people's perceptions of what they're trying to do, or monetary limits of what, when you need money to build something. Right? These are all pressures that create the anti-fragile. So that nature creates anti-fragile things to survive through wombs of pressure. Yeah. But even that has never stopped me. Twice at this age, I've come to zero bank balances from just this faith. And that's part of the anti-fragile nature of this, I think, a genuine innovator, you know, this burning belief in what you're doing, and you face bigger and bigger rejection, right? And the anti-fragile nature that you're born with becomes stronger and stronger. Only that kind of innovator finally births something out. So this is part of the persistence and perseverance of trying to bring something new, is every day you knock on the door. And then the day comes when the other side, somebody's there, the right person, the right movement, they hear about it, doors fly open, and suddenly you're in the light and things start to roll. So rejection is an inherent part of the innovation process. But all you have to realize is that rejection builds, it really does build strength. Nothing gets formed except under pressure. Without pressure, we'd just be blobs.